underside,
The
and then it'll be
undercarriage.
cold on the top side.
Let me ask you this: what's cooler than being cool?
Ice
Ice
cold.
all right. I fucking loved that song when it first came out. I was like
Oh,
addicted to
didn't?
that.
absolutely.
Such a fun song.
Who didn't? That
I was
is such a
always
fun
I
song.
don't know, I always leaned more towards Andre 3000. I was never like super into Outkast as a group, but I don't know, there was just something likable about Andre. I felt
Yeah,
like
he has an energy about him that's alluring, I guess, in a way. Like, yeah, he's likable. Actually, I was we've been catching up on Walking Dead lately, and we're currently in season 10, which is last season. And I guess last year, or I guess this would be like early 2020, they were promoting some other show, some supernatural show on AMC with Jason Segel, and it had Andre 3000 in it. And when I saw that had
Okay.
Andre 3000 in it, I was like, I'm interested now because I like him. Why?
realize
I
he
don't
was
know. But
still acting. I haven't seen him since Be Cool, I think.
wow, yeah, apparently he is, and I don't know if what he's done since the pandemic, but this is immediately pre-pandemic, basically, because we're just getting to the point in Walking Dead, and we watched Talking Dead afterwards too, which is the talk show that happens after Walking Dead.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we're on the last episode or two that's actually in studio, and then all the episodes after that say from home, so you know that the pandemic the lockdown has begun. And
So immediately the audio quality is going to be a lot shittier than ours,
right,
which is pretty awesome. Fuck them.
That's right. I'll let you know how much worse it is.
I'm pretty sure I've told Michael this entire story before, but I wanted you, Steph. I specifically saved this topic just so that way you can explain it, because I know you remember it more vividly, but please tell us about the David Bowie is a God story.
David Bowie.
Oh man. Okay, so I had a friend who
Had past tense? Is it? Are you not?
she was actually murdered in 2010.
Oh
yeah.
my
Like,
gosh!
no joke. Yeah, no joke.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that was nuts. That was nuts. She
Wow.
was it was crazy. It was a crazy story. It was actually like all over the news for a while they were finding the killer and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, that's right. I think Eric kind of mentioned something about this before to me.
Yeah, I think I just said something like I actually knew someone that got murdered, and
I didn't tie
pretty
it together.
gruesome.
Yeah, I didn't tie it together.
So she was a dancer, and she went to an arts high school in Orange County.
Oh.
I think it's just called like Orange County High School of Arts or something like that.
Okay.
And so, there's dancers, there's singers, there's all kinds of like various eccentric artists and musicians and stuff like that. And so she would kind of attract those types too. So I don't think he went to the school, but he was a musician. And I swear he kind of looked like, I want to say he looked like Pete Wentz a little bit or something.
Yes,
like that.
I was just gonna say,
Okay.
who he reminds me of is like a Kmart version of Pete Wentz.
Yeah. So he would always be around with his guitar, and he was always playing music. And so she dated this guy briefly, and not very long. I think it was just a couple months or something. And it was actually my birthday, and I was in college. And so we had a little mini birthday party. And then we went back. We were just like chilling in my dorm room, and he's there with his guitar, and he's, we're just chilling. He's playing his guitar. Eric's there, Julie's there, and my friend that was murdered, and this guy, and then my best friend and her boyfriend at the time, whose name was Sunny, is Sunny. This one is.
Got you.
Yeah. And so we're all chilling. And I think there were maybe a couple other people too, but they're not relevant to the story. So at some point, Sunny starts dissing David Bowie. And, regardless of your opinion of him, to each their own, whatever, he's not a David Bowie fan. So He starts dissing David Bowie. And this guy, the boyfriend with the guitar, I want to say his name was Dominic or something like that. He stands up.
Dimitri or something
Dimitri,
like that.
yeah, you're right. It's Dimitri.
Okay.
So he stands up, walks up to Sonny, smacks him in the face, points at him, and is like, David Bowie is a god.
And this is, keep in mind, they had just met like 10 or 30 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like they'd known each other for an hour tops. And the room was just silent. And
What?
later on, he was like, Sonny was like, if it wasn't your birthday, I would have beat his ass down.
Who the fuck does that? You just met this guy and he's gonna walk up and like, I mean, it was like a fake slap, you know,
Yeah,
but
it
like
was like a
still,
little
like,
like weak little slap, just like a
but you're just like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, I don't know you at all. We are not cool like that.
He didn't take him out like Will Smith did to Chris Rock. Right?
No, it wasn't like that. It was just a
like
weak little.
okay.
It wasn't a Will Smith snack. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was. We were all just taken aback.
I mean,
wondering what was going to happen next. Everything went into slow motion.
First of all, David Bowie is a god. Let it be known. So yes, and I
he's gonna reach through the camera and slap both of us.
Right. I appreciate his conviction, in you know, making sure that other people know. But
serious loyalty right there.
Some serious loyalty. But I would say, you know, that's a poor read on the room, and like why he's taking something personal that was just this other guy's opinion. Like, okay,
yeah.
So you feel like David Bowie's a god, cool.
So yeah, that was the story of the David Bowie's a god. Because after I told Michael that story, like we still kind of like make subtle references to that.
Yeah, at least you know, once a month.
It has to come out at least once a year. Somebody has to say David Bowie is a god. That's just a lifelong quote now.
I don't really know what to call these episodes. Like these, I just kind of like keep changing the terms, but it's like tripod episode, trifecta. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, we should call these episodes where all three of us are on there.
Probably not tripod.
Triumvirate. Trinity.
Trentaverate. I don't know.
Triforce.
We gotta get cracking.
Let's crack it.
Let's crack this baby wide open. How you doing, everybody? Welcome to Aflixionados podcast, episode 14. This is our 1 year anniversary, people.
Ooh,
a 1 year anniversary.
Wow.
My name is Eric, and the other voices occupying your head this time are now a mother of three, my sister and a co-host, Stephanie.
Hello.
And a man of many trades, my good friend, colleague, and co-host, Michael.
How do you do?
Thank you to all the listeners out there for joining us. Available on all major podcast streaming services with new episodes dropping on the first Saturday of each month, 5 a.m. Pacific. Aflixionados is a monthly podcast where we primarily talk about films that range from mind-numbing to mind-blowing. We may also cover TV shows or other forms of media. It goes without saying we will be getting into spoilers here, and there will be only the healthiest amount of expletives tossed in. You have been warned. Now, if you ain't ready, then get ready, because in this anniversary episode, we have a very special treat for all of you. We will be discussing the love story that captured the hearts of America, considered to be one of the greatest films ever made. This episode is all about Casablanca.
Yeah, baby.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure we do this movie justice. You know, a lot of people consider it to be their all-time favorite movie.
Yeah, we were talking about how it's either this or Citizen Kane, and I have no idea what the heck Citizen Kane is about.
I feel like they kind of bounce back and forth. Like, it's like those two are always the top two no matter what.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
I'm excited to jump into this movie. This is something that it kind of goes against everything that I stand for when it comes to movies. I'm like, anything before like 1980, I'm like usually not about, but Casablanca came out in 1942. I think this might be the oldest movie I've ever watched so far.
Wow.
Directed by Michael Curtiz, Casablanca is set during World War II. It focuses on an American expatriate who must choose between his love for a woman or helping her and her husband, a Czech resistance leader, escape from the French-controlled city of Casablanca to continue his fight against the Germans. Yeah, for those that don't know, like, I guess Rick's story works is that he's someone that chooses to indefinitely live in another country. And I guess he's not allowed to go back to America, or he just chooses not to. I'm not sure, like, what the that whole situation was with Rick. But
yeah, I was wondering too because I know that it mentions that he does some stuff like the weapons in Ethiopia and the
he like fought in a couple
The
battles, right?
Spanish Civil War.
yeah
He fought.
yeah the Spanish Civil War and stuff, but I don't think that is the reason why he couldn't or isn't going back to America. And then at the end where he's telling Ilsa that he'll go with her and stuff, maybe it's just a choice. Because she would have known if he couldn't go back.
I think typically expatriates they have the option to go back to their native country, but they willingly choose to live and kind of like,
because if you can't go back, you're more like a refugee, right?
I mean, in this movie for sure, I think he.
Well, yeah, in Casablanca, most of the people are refugees.
Yeah, exactly. That's almost
it's questionable whether Rick is necessarily. I guess he's a refugee of Paris because he fled Paris to Casablanca.
Yeah,
and we don't know. Like maybe he was living there, indefinitely as well until he had to flee because the Germans were invading.
Right. Yeah, it seems to me it seemed that it was more of on a permanent basis. He seemed pretty bummed. I remember at one point
about living there.
Some bummed that he couldn't move back. Bummed because of course he had been in love and of course that didn't work out, and then
right
and then then he was just totally crestfallen. And then I remember at one point Renault, the police captain, talks to him about him going back, and he's just kind of like, nah
dog.
He brushes it off, and is just the way he brushes it off is like you can tell there's like a disappointment. Like he kind of brings his eyes down and is like, no, I can't do that.
That's the thing about him was I noticed that the movie, and for those of you who don't know, Rick, who we're talking about, is Humphrey Bogart's character, Rick Blaine, and he's the American who runs and owns the nightclub called Rick's Cafe American in the city of Casablanca, Morocco. It's kind of interesting because he keeps himself very guarded from everyone. He doesn't really tell anyone anything. He's really neutral about everything, his stance on everything. And he just kind of wants to
stuff go on. He doesn't.
I never stick my neck out for anyone, he says.
He just stays out of it.
He says that a couple times. I don't stick my neck out for anyone, or is it just the once? I don't know. But he won't even have a drink with anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's very just secluded, and honestly, he just kind of self-wallowing. He always has that dark cloud everywhere he goes, and the thing is,
it's true. He kind of seems like he's just wallowing in his own misery.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of gives a mystique to Rick. People are like, man, I want to get to know this guy. He seems like a cool cat, but he doesn't really talk to anyone.
Exactly.
Well, before we get into the movie really quick, I just want to run down a couple interesting bits of information about this movie. The screenplay is actually produced from a stage play, which is called Everybody Comes to Rick's, that was developed by Murray Burnett and Joan Allison. So people actually wanted to create a stage play initially, and then it eventually just snowballed and evolved into a motion picture, one of the greatest movies of all time. And the film was shot entirely on the Warner Brothers studio in Burbank, California. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Except for
the tiny
airport.
bit at the end, the airport, because that's Van Nuys Airport, right?
Correct.
Wow.
And in its initial American release, Casablanca was a substantial but not spectacular box office success. It earned 3.7 mil. So I don't know if it was like destroying everyone, but it did well for itself. And I think it just continued to do well over time.
Oh, yeah.
And its reputation has grown over time, to the point where its lead characters, memorable lines, and pervasive theme song have all become iconic, and it consistently ranks near the top of lists for the greatest films in history. What were you going to say, Steph?
I was going to say, one thing that I found interesting is that it's a movie about World War II that was actually filmed during World War II. So there are a lot of interesting little aspects that go into that. Like we were talking about earlier, that only 3 of the cast are actually American actors, and the rest were largely actual refugees from the war.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And so the emotions and whatnot that you see in the movie are real because it's something that was going on at that time to these people, particularly the part where they're singing.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Yeah, where the Germans are singing, and then everybody else, well, Laszlo comes in and strikes up the band, and they start singing, what is it, the French national anthem or something, or iconic French
Vive la
song.
France!
Yeah, and they're all singing, and everyone's getting all emotional, and it shows Yvonne, and she's crying, and
she's just an emotional drunk.
Right? No, but I read somewhere that emotion within the actors was actually real. They captured real emotion because it's something that they were honestly really actually experiencing at that time, being a refugee from the war. And having that one little moment against the Germans, the little ways that they can stand up against them, I guess, and show their.
So who were the three Americans, like the actual Americans in the movie?
I know Humphrey Bogart was one of them, and then it was two more minor characters. I want to say it was the actor who played
Sam.
Yeah, I think, and I'm gonna look it up.
And the third American character was the piano.
Third American. Huh. I wonder. Yeah,
the piano that did a good job of hiding those papers for a little while.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was Peter Lorre. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was Peter Lorre. He's got that really strong accent, though. I don't know. He may have been from wherever he's from. Hey, Rick, you like me. I know you will.
Oh, it was Humphrey Bogart, Julie Wilson, who played Sam, and Joy Page.
Who's Joy?
Yeah, she just played a Bulgarian refugee.
Oh, Bulgarian. That was the young girl.
Oh, the young girl that
that
he gave the money to.
Yeah. Was gonna have to trade sexual favors for freedom, and that's what she was alluding to with Humphrey Bogart, where, and Claude Rains' character is skeezy like that, but funny too, tricky.
The funny thing is, I was telling my husband the first time I saw this movie, so much stuff just went over my head. I don't know if I just wasn't paying enough attention or what.
You kind of have to pay, pretty close attention.
Yeah, and to catch those little, they're them implying that, Renault took sexual favors in exchange for papers.
Yeah, she says if I had to do a bad thing and all that stuff, if you had
a lot of it is like it's not necessarily what they're saying, but it's how they say these things.
Yeah.
You're a man, she says. Like, how would you take this if you know that I had to do a bad thing and could never tell you about it, but we got the thing that you really wanted? And immediately he's just like, And that's why, of course, he's just like, I don't want you to ruin your innocence or have your marriage wrecked because of this thing. You're young and in love, and I was once in love. And
in typical Rick fashion, too, he initially kind of brushes it off.
Not typical, that's the thing. He doesn't stick his neck out for anyone.
Yeah, I was going to say, in typical fashion, he kind of brushes it off like he was disinterested, but he later goes and talks to the husband and helps him win the money.
Yeah, and it's like is that the point where he kind of starts turning around, and by the end, Renault's like, oh, you're such an idealist or whatever, and throughout the movie, he slowly, well, maybe not slowly, but at some point he flips, and then he's all of a sudden is sticking his neck out for people, particularly, Ilsa and Laszlo, and then eventually leaves himself to go fight the good fight.
I think it has everything to do, of course, with Elsa coming back into his life. He
was able to get some closure.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that definitely
he hadn't worked through those issues. Hadn't
healed. It's like Casablanca was kind of a limbo for refugees, and he was in this refugee limbo, in emotional limbo
and just absolutely. I mean, when Yvonne's trying to reach through to him, she's trying to, one of those things where I can change him, he's this tragic person, and I want to get through to him, and I'll be the one to change him. And then she's just sorely disappointed because he just he's not into love. He's already tosses her aside, and she's gorgeous, of course, and she seems like a sweet person, but there's only one person that has his heart. And they say the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And he's obviously not indifferent to Ilsa. He's still in love. The flip side of that coin is the hate that he feels toward her. He's still in it, and he still resents her for leaving him high and dry and never telling him, never knowing why. And so he assumes that she left him for somebody else and whatever. So he's just carried it all that time, obviously never wanting to hear that song played again, and he gets pissed at Sam for playing it, but then he realizes why he did it. And then it's weird, and it's interesting. He causes himself to suffer to go back to that place. If she can take it, I can take it. Play it again,
Yeah.
He's just putting himself through that torture.
Right. And I just had an interesting conversation with my girlfriend about music and about these studies that have been done about, listening to sad music, how it has its, her point was that it had downsides to it, meaning that you could remain in this dark place and that you condone it because other people think the same way. And you hear somebody singing this sad song, and we could get into that another time, because I love my Radiohead, and I love some pretty good sad songs. But my point is, though, that I think that it is sad songs sometimes, or at least it's a happy song, right? But it's a song that brings back a certain time in his life that won't come back, a certain nostalgia.
Mm-hmm. And nostalgia is a powerful thing.
Right. It is a powerful thing. And the imagery and the feelings involved, they say, psychologists say, it's like, in order for you to heal, you really have to revisit those places now and experience. You have to allow yourself to be wounded again and shed those tears before you can move on. And it's obvious that this movie is in a way showcasing that. It's he is wrecked at the table. He's drinking himself stupid. She comes in through the door. He's expecting her. And then he lights her up. He expresses that rage that he has held bottled up inside for so long that no one else has experienced, because he's just so cold with them. He won't let them in, but he did let her in, so he's willing to hurt her the same way that he feels.
Yeah, he finally gets it out of his system, it seems, because after that he's willing to hear her and let her explain, and then finally get some sort of closure,
because he can't let go, right? Because again, he is in love. That hate that he expressed toward her was synonymous with love. It's bound up in it. And so that's why he approaches her in the market. He waits to the perfect time for her husband, Laszlo, to be talking to, I forget that other guy's name. Ferrari, right. How could I forget? Ferrari. So he goes off, and as soon as he's busy with Ferrari, then he goes and approaches Ilsa again there in the marketplace, and has to get an answer. He wants to know, who were you with after me? How many other guys?
And to your point, like every time he sees her, every time he talks to her, it becomes easier, and it almost like starts forming back into kind of like the same way he used to talk to her before, and it becomes a lot easier, and it's more enjoyable.
And then she eventually starts calling him Richard again, and
Richard back in France.
Right. She had to. He had to. He wants answers. In a way, it's like he wanted to hurt her because he wanted to make her feel the way she made him feel. And so once he had already kind of done that and realized, well, I didn't get what I wanted from it. What I really want are these answers. What he really wants is her. But what he wants as well as answers. He wants to understand why she did what she did. It's that empathy.
It's closure, guys.
That closure, right. Not even just the closure. I mean, I guess the closure, since she's already with somebody else. I mean,
it would have been closure for him, but then obviously it kind of escalated into a whole other thing.
His motives
even after that.
Right. No, his motives are definitely selfish in some sense, because who wouldn't want that kind of love that you may never find in this life, kind of thing, where it's like, wow, we found each other. We'll always have Paris, right? So he wants to rekindle that. I wouldn't blame him. Ingrid Bergman was gorgeous.
She is.
She's beautiful.
Yeah, I remember just when I first saw this, I was in. I didn't actually get to finish it the second time. I was just watching it and finishing it up. Now I have like 20 minutes left in the movie.
Damn, I was just telling Steph before we started recording. I was like, yeah, I just had like 10 minutes left. I was actually watching some of it on my lunch today.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
I finished it yesterday.
Nice. Dang. Gosh, it's been years. It's been since I was 18. I want to say 18 when I saw it. I was in film school, and we needed to watch it. And so I did. And I just remember at 18 just thinking, fuck, she just like stole my heart. Like I was just so enamored.
She's stunning, yeah,
with Ingrid Bergman, and the way she spoke, and just the light. But that has so much to do not only with, of course, not taking anything from her, but also the movie is amazing because of the cinematography too, and the lighting. Like one of the things I was going to bring up that I could not help but noticed and kind of smiled when I saw was the lighting in the scene when Claude Rains, aka Renault, comes into, he follows Rick. They're having a little conversation, which is always like a chess match, by the way. I thought that was really interesting, that this whole movie is one massive chess match, trying to best the other. And of course, when you first meet Humphrey Bogart's character Rick, he's there before a chessboard, and Ugarte comes over and wants to play with him. But the movie's so sophisticated that what's going on and all that stuff. So when Claude Rains was following him, he goes into his room, and as he walks out of the scene, he walks out of the
frame.
Out of the frame. Thank you. As he walks out of the frame, you see his shadow cast on the wall, and you see the cigarette so clearly in his lips, and he's talking. You can see it's
the
all
old school film technique where he like walks up to the safe, but like Renault stays in the doorway, and then there's like a spotlight shining on the wall between them, and so you see Rick. I noticed this too, and I thought I kind of got a smile out of it, but you see him like kind of like digging in the safe or whatever, and you know, he's talking, you can see the little like cigar in his mouth bouncing, and I was like, man, this is an interesting technique.
It's so like the best of that era, you know. The everything was so right, everything was done so well. You would hear, I would hear people talking about how they mourned the coming of Technicolor, because so much was lost when we had color, whereas when it was black and white, there was so much more skill involved in lighting.
It's kind of weird to think about, because it was so much more limited, you know, based on the color, but because of that, they had to convey so much more through different means, like the lighting and the
to be more creative,
you know, lack thereof, and
yes, exactly, or lack thereof, and there's so much more they get to play with too. Think about the fact that at the time that for instance, Alfred Hitchcock came out with Psycho, there were already color pictures being made, but he specifically chose to make Psycho in black and white for a very, very good reason. Essentially, that there is something, there's almost like by removing color, you also remove distraction. I am and I would say an amateur photographer. I've been enamored of photography since college, since taking film school and all that stuff. And I like taking black and white images, and there is a certain timelessness in them. And certain qualities that in black and white, with color, you could get distracted by certain elements in the picture. It just, your attention gets moved all over the frame. Whereas in a black and white photo, even, you can just, your eyes go to the more important things. You can mess with certain elements, and that's a lot of fun to explore. But that having been said, those people in that the cinematographer and the gaffer, those people involved with lighting those scenes, they were at the top of their game, honestly. I mean, in the 1940s, they were already well into it. They're into talkies and everything, because black and white film had been around since, you know, the where they would do the what do you call that? The non-talkies. I can't think of what they're, silent films. There we go. The non-talkies, the silent films.
The non-talking films, yes.
The non-talking. But yeah, so much emotion could be conveyed on all of their faces. You know, that close-up shot, like you were saying before, of Yvonne, when you see the tear coming down her cheek, and just all of that expressed. It just
CGI, by the way.
Total CGI.
Right.
Bullshit.
Such a fake tear.
They were like, oh, hold on, we're gonna just do a little teardrop thing here, silicone tears. Out of here with that shit.
In this non-World War II, World War II movie that doesn't exist.
To your point with like all these different techniques that they're doing, and with like cinematography and stuff, I thought it was really quaint and kind of enjoyable to see, really. Just like the opening shot, like how it just has like this globe, this like textured globe spinning, and it's like in like a black, like, I don't know, backdrop or something, and they had like
smoke.
Fog.
Yeah,
there's like
fog around
it, past it, which I guess that's realistic, right? There's fog in space,
right?
Totally,
right. Yeah,
fog in the vacuum of space. Yes.
Yeah.
Ominous clouds, and but what I was bringing that up for was because before we start recording, I think we're still waiting for you to finish eating. Steph and I were talking about how we noticed like, you know, there's like the little narrator talking, and he almost has like this like radio voice, right? And I believe I heard somewhere that this kind of got adapted into a radio show, and I was just thinking like, the concept of a radio show was so interesting that like people that used to be in the place where a TV is now, right? So you kind of have your radio center and then the seats are kind of gathered around it, and the family would just kind of sit and really focus in on the radio as like the show was happening. And you know, that's kind of like what TV was back then. And you kind of, you know, they had to be descriptive, and they had to really convey what it is, like the emotions through their voice, because you couldn't really see it. So a lot of it was imagination. You had to use your imagination to see what was happening.
Yeah, they used Foley's as well. Foley's being the sound effects, the walking, the footsteps.
Yeah.
Or like the door creaking open. Yeah, and in some ways you could even say that radio was even better in some sense than any movie, because any story told where you're the one composing everything in your imagination is so much more personal. It's so much more rich with detail because you're the one creating it in your head. The character looks a certain way to you that if you were to draw the person, if two people were told to draw the same person that they heard described, would draw somebody slightly different because it's all from whatever we have in our own imaginations. So yeah, I think that's interesting.
Case in point, to back up your statement there, 50 Shades of Grey, because I know a lot of people that were like, really? They casted him as Christian Grey? What the hell?
Right.
Because everyone has their idea of what like the perfect man or whatever is supposed to look like. And so not everyone is going to agree on what the character should look like. Even though they describe it, it's like you still picture it differently.
Sure. Yeah, you can't please everybody on that one. I know Dakota Johnson was definitely not appreciated by some as the female in that role.
I think nobody's ever fully, when you have something with such a huge fan base like that, it's impossible to please everyone, like you said.
Yeah. Although I didn't,
but I did. Yeah, I totally did go through that whole like they cast him as Christian because I've totally read them all.
Yeah.
But they did have somebody else cast there, and then he couldn't do it, and so they had to like quickly find somebody else to just.
Oh damn! Just to fill the role, like
just for the record.
Who wants a paycheck?
Whoa.
Anyone willing to get naked for a paycheck?
Yeah.
Right.
What I thought was kind of weird, I guess this is something I just discovered that I do with movies where it kind of describes like a certain path or journey that the characters kind of have to take. So I actually went through Google Maps and I was following the path. So they're like, oh, you start off in Paris and you work your way down, and then
to
they
Marseille,
have to,
and then from Marseille to
Oran, and then
Oran to Casablanca.
To Casablanca, yeah. And it's like they're talking about how you have to take like a train or a car or something. I guess you can't just take the ship directly to Morocco. You have to like stop just short of it and then kind of like drive the rest of the way.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that was an interesting track. Watching the movie this time, I took more notes down. I don't know what headspace I was in when I first saw this. I mean, being 18, I don't know. I was probably just really distracted. But seeing the trek that they had to make and understanding a little bit better why Casablanca was this linchpin, was so integral to the whole refugee movement to Lisbon to get. I don't even understand why that's the case. I just know that that's the case now better than I did before. Like, oh, okay, Casablanca is that point. That
it's such a wild circle that they have to make, right? Because you start,
it really is a circle
in Paris, and you have to go all the way down, and then you go all the way back up to Portugal.
Right, all the way back up to Portugal, and then because you're over in France, and France is almost like
it's like right next
to it, and you have to go all the way down to come all the way back up. It's almost like, in a way, it's almost like an analogy. It's in some sense like Dante's Inferno or Dante's the Divine Comedy, right? Where you have to go. It's like you have to go to hell before you can get to heaven. That was that idea. So you had to actually literally physically go down on the map to then come back up to Lisbon and then go over to the promised land.
Let it be known, Africa is hell.
Africa to the sweltering heat. They left Paris to go to the sweltering heat of Morocco. There they're all just like languishing in the sun. And
actually, as I was following the path that they were describing in the movie, I looked up Casablanca, like modern day Casablanca, and I was like, man, it looks gorgeous. Like, it looks like a beautiful city.
Absolutely.
I hear. Yeah, I actually have a friend who's been to Morocco, and she had a sister that was doing a study abroad in Spain, I believe. And so she went to go visit her in Spain, and then on the weekend they just took a little weekend trip down to
Oh
Morocco, and
shit!
apparently it's beautiful and the food's good and everything's cheap.
Is
So
that the country that is closest to Morocco?
I think so. Right
Right?
across
Because
the
isn't
water,
yeah? There's only
basically.
like a
It
little like
is.
section of water, right? That they have to cross.
Have either of you read The Alchemist before?
I have not.
Why I mention it is because there's a point where this young boy he's he does travel to Morocco from Spain. It's just across the way. He makes his way across, and it's like
Yeah.
a whole new land, and it's
Oh
just it's a
yeah.
crazy adventure that he
I'm looking at
embarks
it
on.
right now, and there's just like
Little
a
sliver of
teeny
water.
little channel. It actually, because Spain dips down and Morocco dips up, and there's just a little gap
Yeah,
between the two. I didn't realize that.
yeah, it's a cool story. Highly recommend. And since we're thinking about
Yeah.
Morocco, I have nothing but I've always wanted to visit Morocco. I know Anthony Bourdain was out there, and I remember watching his show and just thinking like, I want to try all that food. I want to see what that life's like. So interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so not hating on that area. Just that's an interesting thing that they had to do to get away from.
Right.
Well, they had to go
right.
to that's the other piece too that I didn't understand before, the difference between occupied France and unoccupied France. And I don't know specifically why. I don't know. I don't even know if they really explain why Casablanca is quote unquote unoccupied, and therefore the Germans can't just.
I just kind of assumed it was like a neutral
There
territory
it
kind of
is.
situation.
Right, a neutral territory. Why was that agreed upon? I don't know. All I know is it was a neutral territory. The Germans wanted to just like, oh, well, there he is, Laszlo. Let's capture him now, but they couldn't because of reasons. I don't know,
Right.
because it's unoccupied.
Political reasons, of course.
Right, but that's one of the things that they said at the beginning of the movie I thought was genius. They made sure to make mention of it, which at the time would have made sense to anybody else who was living during World War II, for them to know, oh, this is occupied and this is unoccupied. But when I heard him say, welcome to, as soon as that captain comes off the plane at the very beginning of the movie, and Claude Rains' character, Renault, says to him, oh, welcome to unoccupied Morocco, or something like that.
I thought that area was occupied by France, though, from my understanding.
No, it was
It was like a French territory kind of thing, right? But it was
unoccupied by Germans. That's what the implication is. It's occupied by the French, but when they said, when they spoke of occupied France, they spoke of
they meant
Paris.
The Nazi Germany.
Right. Whereas he says this, and it's like in a way, it's to let the audience know, hey, here's the reason why the Germans can't just like waylay everybody, put everybody in shackles, and just rule the roost. It's like they have to play by these rules, so that you're not questioning throughout the whole thing, like, hey, these Germans are in this gin joint. Why the hell aren't they just arresting people that are,
or just shooting everyone? Yeah,
or just shooting everyone?
Random.
And you're right, exactly. Why isn't this whole thing just filled with Germans? And you get the answer. It's because it's unoccupied.
That leads to my question. So, what did you guys think of the city Casablanca in this movie? Like, what were your thoughts when you saw it? Because it's kind of a melting pot of a lot of people, a lot of different cultures. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too. It was really interesting. It's, you have a bit of the, the Moroccan, it's Morocco, so you have some Morocco going on, but at the same time, you still get like bits of home, I guess, with all the different people that are there.
Yeah, and I know there was a heavy French influence there. One of the things I noticed that I wrote down in my notes was that it seemed like a very attractive place to be for a lot of people, like both wealthy and the carefree people, as well as the poor folks with nothing to lose. Like, they all just kind of congregated. They all just met up here in this the city of Casablanca.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Rich and poor alike, where it's just the playing field was level to a certain extent. Because as he mentions before, as one of the gentlemen mentions before in the, I can't remember what his name is. He's that kind of large dude.
The guy with the glasses.
Kind of pasty guy. Yeah, guy with the glasses. Who
is it? Carl the waiter.
Carl the waiter. When he goes, when somebody's like, "Oh, okay, why won't Rick have a drink with us?" I'm from the second largest the second largest banker
like
in Amsterdam. He's like, oh, he wouldn't be impressed with that. The leading banker of Amsterdam is actually the pastry chef.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like the wealthiest, right? The point is like the wealthiest, wealth means nothing here. This place, everyone's the same. We're all on the same playing field.
I think that says a lot about Rick's Cafe American, was that people were willing to almost like take pay cuts and do whatever they needed to do to get to this place, because this is where everything was happening. This is where
either that or you're forced to leave your life to be a refugee there, you know?
Right. And to Steph's point,
Were
though,
those people like forced out of their countries, or I thought they willingly went to Casablanca?
Well, that was where people ran to when they were fleeing, the
right,
Nazis.
they really had a choice, but the only other choice was to die. So they're like, oh, we're gonna go here and try our hand in Morocco, see if Casablanca is any better.
That's my point, was like I almost felt like it wasn't this desperate spot to be. It was a place that people willingly wanted to go regardless of this war happening. They're like, yeah, let's take a trip down to Morocco, let's have a good time. There's no Germans over there,
I didn't get that
Yeah, I don't
sense.
think everyone in the movie. I don't think everyone there was a refugee, but
Yeah, not everybody, but it seemed that's why it was like, that's why that one guy made that joke about everybody being, he said something about not wanting.
Everyone's a vulture.
Yeah, everyone's a vulture. That guy's pickpocketing everybody. But no, there's
Yeah.
somebody, I forget, somebody's talking to Rick. I think it's Ferrari, and he's saying something about, oh, that's the one thing that we do here. Oh, that's the one thing that's, I don't like selling people or something like that, or I don't want to exploit people. And he's like, oh, that's the number one trade
Oh,
here.
right, when the one dude was trying to buy Sam or something, wasn't it?
That's it. That's right. That's right. He's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Ferrari was trying to buy him, and so he brings him over and lets Sam make his piece.
That was such an uncomfortable scene, because he was straight up like trying to buy him like a piece of like furniture or something, and he was and Rick was like, I don't sell people, and he's just like, come on, everyone's got a price, and he's like, let's just think about it. And he's like, well, I'll let Sam speak for himself,
right,
like an actual person that he is.
Right. It's interesting. Yeah, because he does say, well, in that same vein, he does say, well, that's the number one thing out here. So point being that there are just a ton of refugees out there, so many more people just trying to get out. I mean, you get the sense of that too when you see at the table that before you ever meet Rick, they're kind of like going table by table, and you're seeing these conversations having in hushed tones, where basically everyone's selling something to basically get money, to then use that money to exchange for their freedom to leave, the fuck out of Casablanca and far from the Germans, the Nazis.
And I like when the German officers show up too, because Renault is introducing them. He's kind of welcoming them, and they're like, okay, so how are we gonna find these people that stole these papers? And he's like, trust me, everyone who's anyone goes to Cafe American. So he leads them over there, and the way he says it was, everybody comes to Rick's. And that's funny, because that was the name of the stage play. So I like how they did that nod. Everybody
comes to Rick's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, that is cool. Everybody comes to Rick's. No, it definitely seems. I was saying earlier, Steph, to your point, it is like a limbo state, because if everything is even keel, if there is really such a quote unquote thing as like purgatory or limbo, then everybody is on the same playing field. Doesn't matter if you were rich in life or you were poor in life. Everyone's on that same level. So I never really saw that analogy before, but that's interesting that I see it so prevalent now throughout the whole movie. I'm like, oh wow, it really is like they're just trying to get to paradise, aka the Americas.
Yeah.
Michael, I wanted to see if you noticed this in the movie. I noticed like right after, I guess this is towards the beginning of the movie, right after Rick signs the check, like, because I think this is before it even shows his face. It's just kind of like passing, it's flowing through the cafe or whatever, and then it eventually gets to Rick's desk, and he's like signing off on a check, and then I guess it like pans out, and then he touches this white chess piece, and then the frame shifts right when he touches it. And I thought it was because I was watching on Vudu, so I was like, wait, did my internet just glitch? So I rewound it and I played it again, and every time he touches, like after he hands off the check, he touches it with his index finger, and then the frame like shifts slightly. And I was like, that was kind of a strange cut, because I didn't notice any other cuts like that in the rest of the movie.
That's interesting. I wonder what the intention. I didn't notice that.
And the only reason why I noticed it was because I'm like, why the hell does he touch that? He makes it obvious that he's like touching this like white chess piece. It's like a pawn or something.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
He's like, your move.
Yeah.
And he's playing himself.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
You played yourself, which again is another analogy to him being in his own personal hell. He's his own worst enemy. He's his own worst enemy.
That's interesting, though. I kind of want to go, because I watched it on HBO Max.
Me too.
And I should go in there and see if that's in there, or if it's something that because obviously I didn't notice it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, I definitely want to go back and see. I do remember seeing his finger. I was wondering why it was happening. It almost looked like slowly when he goes and touches the piece, but I don't remember the
really
jump
obvious.
cut. It's kind of jarring, but that's interesting. I mean, again, it could just be there. He goes back into that world again where he's just punishing himself.
I think that's the exact moment where the rest of the movie is just a dream, and then it cuts back, and then he's still like touching
the piece, and his fingers coming off the piece, and none of that shit happened, and she never came back into his life, and he still
died a miserable life in Casablanca.
Miserable. Yeah.
How sad.
That Tommy Westphall ending.
The one that everyone loved, yes.
The one that everyone loved, the snow globe.
What'd you guys think of the Rick character in general? Like, did you feel like you're like, this guy's kind of annoying, or were you like, oh, I get it?
Yeah, at the beginning, I mean, he's kind of a jerk, which obviously is the point. And
he's very stern and bitter.
Yeah, very bitter. And you don't know why yet.
Very monotone, right?
And then they make it very clear, like this dude doesn't have drinks with anybody. They make it clear several times he doesn't have drinks with his patrons and stuff.
Mm-mm.
And then as soon as
you see, he's not impressed by anyone, whether you got money, because people try to like pay him off, and he just rips up checks, and he's like, "Get the fuck out."
Yeah,
get the fuck out of here.
He does that multiple times, and then when Ilsa comes, and he immediately sits down with her, and that's definitely where things start shifting, and you start learning there's more to him. There's a reason he's like this.
With this whole plot point, like the letters of transit, like, is that a real thing? Like the fact that it almost felt like that seems too good to be true. The fact that they couldn't be denied or questioned.
A golden ticket.
Yeah, basically. I'm like, why would you even create anything like that in the first place? That's kind of strange.
I'm sure they had stuff like that for the military personnel and whatnot traveling around.
Yeah, Wagon. I don't know who that person was, but yeah, it was straight from Wagon.
And the fact that if it was something so valuable like that, you feel like it would be better guarded, but apparently this Ugarte was able to kill him. I don't think they ever say directly if he was the one that killed him, but I'm like, this guy seems kind of like a weasel. Like I didn't really believe that he would have killed those guys.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah,
he is like the Baelish of
maybe poison them.
Yeah, little bird.
No, but
little finger.
I feel like there's something that's something that they had something like that in real life. I don't think that was like a made up thing. In my opinion, and they use stuff like that in other things too. Like actually, I'm currently rewatching all of the Pirates of the Caribbeans because I don't remember them at all. And in the second one, what's her face, Elizabeth Swann,
your favorite Keira
Knightley. That's right. Yeah, she steals pardon papers and has the one dude sign him at gunpoint so that she can get the papers for Will, and even though they're supposed to be for Jack Sparrow.
She should just got a parlay.
I don't think it works like that when you're about to be hanged on land.
Plus, I feel like that's more of like a pirate's code.
Yeah, it's a pirate thing. But yeah, they were in trouble on land, so.
So that's why the punishment is exacted. Yeah,
I just want to say Ugarte was a fucking creeper to me. Like, I don't know. I didn't trust that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love Peter Lorre. Peter,
that guy was sketchy as fuck.
I know how, Rick. It's crazy. Listen, would you have a drink with me? Oh, that's right. No, you don't. Yeah. Help me, Rick. Help me.
Hold on to these papers. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
Oh, he's great. He's been in a couple of, at least I know of one other movie he was in with Humphrey Bogart, the something Falcon. I can't think now. He was more of like he had more of a
Maltese Falcon.
A larger role. The Maltese Falcon.
Maltese.
The Maltese Falcon. He's good in that. But he also had this one. He was the star in this one movie where his hand is possessed,
Idle
kills
hands.
people. Yeah, it's like the old OG Idle Hands. But he's so freaked out by that with his big eyes and that voice. Yeah, he seems just really unsure. And with this one big deal, this is my last deal, and then I take off. I write my own papers.
Did you guys have anything in the movie that like kind of bugged you? Or, like watching the movie, you're like, that seems kind of weird. I don't know why they did it that way.
Why'd they do it in black and white?
For me, it bugged me how Sam the pianist, played by Dooley Wilson, I didn't like how he was so over the top when he was playing. Like he was like leaning so far away, like his fingers were barely touching the keys, and his chin was like pointed up.
Here's the thing: in real life, he was a drummer. He had no idea how to play the piano,
And this
so
is apparently how they play, like Frankenstein.
he had to over exaggerate it so people wouldn't pay attention to his fingers. And it's
Oh.
funny because, like, I noticed I was watching his hands this time, and he was, even though it was playing something like where it's like
tickling him, yeah,
you know, playing,
he's still,
yeah, but he's always playing like this.
I saw that too. I was like, oh, but yeah, you don't really notice it because the camera trains more on his face, and then, you know, he's singing up at the camera, so it's like you're distracted,
tilted upward, and he's like leaning all the way out away from it. And I figured you guys would notice because you guys both have experience playing piano.
There's that. Yeah,
I totally noticed it.
Yeah, of course I did too, because you're hearing the tickling of the keys, and it's more just his hands are just doing this number. Like, I think. Do you guys know who Flula Borg is?
No.
Flula. Oh, he's this goofy person. Anyway, he's a comedian. But I remember when he was on this game show, when he's supposed to be answering in, you know, the questions or whatever you're supposed to answer before you cut to commercial, kind of like Jeopardy. Instead of actually like typing it out or whatever, like some of the other guests do, he was just doing this. Everyone else is here going
with
like this,
your hands like that, like a claw almost.
But I mean, I'm doing it like I'm sitting down, but like he's here and he's just like
little T-Rex arms.
Yeah, exactly. It was great as he's pressing on the whatever the hell they're pressing on the screen at their podium. But anyway, that's how he was playing the piano, was kind of like that.
Yeah.
But I also wonder if it's not that he doesn't have a microphone. He's just projecting with his own natural voice, so it makes sense.
He has to.
He's got to crane his neck,
throw his voice out at the audience.
Yeah,
he has a great voice.
Because they're all behind him too. Most of the people are behind him, so he doesn't want to be singing at a pillar where no one can really hear him. He has to sing so that at least his voice gets cast this way. Yeah. So I get it.
You know, they actually thought of dubbing his voice at some point.
Oh,
which would have been sad.
That would have been for sure.
Because he's great.
Yeah, I thought he had a good voice. Really warm.
I agree.
Their whole interaction is there's just so much understatement. That's what I loved about it. The movie assumes you're an intelligent person. They don't give too much hand holding where they explain it all the way.
That's what I was talking about. I feel like that's something that they did back then. I don't know if people were just, I don't know, more intelligent or something at some point, but that was something that I noticed about movies back then, black and white movies, you know, I guess because that was, I feel like it's kind of its own, like there was like a different movie language that was going on at the time.
It was its own style.
Yeah, there was a lot more that you had to pick up through context or, you know, stuff that was implied rather than explicitly said. Whereas nowadays, you know, that things are a lot more explained. And so sometimes it makes it a little harder to follow, which is, I think, one reason why, like Eric, I don't really like stuff that's too old because it's a totally different style. It's like, you know, almost a totally different language.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, and things, again, having that context of, you know, people living at that time would know what unoccupied versus occupied meant and all the implications thereof. We watching this now have to think of what are those implications, and so it adds a little bit more thinking to it. I remember as I was watching it this time, I felt more stressed, and I think it was because I was thinking, okay, we're going to have this podcast, I want to have something, I want to pick up things that are there, and I'm like, I could feel my body tensing up, and I wasn't taking like full breaths because I'm like, oh, and I just remember the thought washed over my mind, this is over my head. I was like, there is so much going on right now. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, well, I'm not responsible for knowing everything. So I'm just going to enjoy whatever it is I do pick up and go from there and just accept the fact that this movie is bigger than I'm capable of grasping at just through one watch through, even, or this being my second time. So
yeah, same here. Second time.
I just tried to appreciate it and was humbled by the level of sophistication, the themes that the different, the sophistication of the plot, but also of the these interactions and the subtle ways that they got the point across. You know, I was just like, this is smart shit. I'm not on this level.
And we were talking about how a lot of it was, it's not exactly what they were saying, but it was how they were saying it. It was the body language, and you just have to pay attention. Yeah. Otherwise, like with that girl that was talking about, like the, you know, do these terrible things, but you know, it's all out of love because I'm doing it for like the person that I love, you know, I have to do these terrible things or whatever. And she was talking to Rick about that girl.
Yeah, and as soon as she says a bad thing, she says, you know, if I had to do a bad thing, like he's already wondering what's her angle. Like he's looking at her and she's like,
to me? Why did Renault send her over? Type of thing.
He's just trying to get, and he already well, the thing is, he already spoke his piece. It was already done. He had already said, you can trust him. He is a man of his word. And she goes, oh,
And she kept
thank you.
going. Yeah.
And then she proceeds to tell him basically, okay, he is a man of his word. By the way, what she's basically saying to him without saying to him is, oh, good. So if I have sex with him, he really will give me that ticket. I'm not just going to have sex with him and he's going to just leave me high and dry, and me and my husband high and dry. So that's when he realizes, oh, that's what this is about. That's what's happening.
This is one of Renault's girls. That's what he was thinking. Another one of his victims, I guess you can say.
More like, yeah, and he's looking at her and he just his eyes go down and he's just like, wow, this isn't just like one woman. You remember Renault says he's going to bring in a blonde the next night and he hopes that she doesn't win.
She loses, yeah.
So that was the thing, was I was questioning why Renault was like, yeah, go talk to Rick, he'll answer like any questions you have. And so I don't know if maybe he was expecting Rick to just like give him like, blanket answers or whatever and just send her on her way, or it seemed like once he sent her over, he regretted, because he was like, what the heck? Like, you actually helped them? You're so sentimental.
He was saying like, oh, you're starting to become an idealist or whatever. And then, it goes on, and obviously he sticks his neck out more and more throughout the rest of the movie. And then at the very last scene,
begin to unfold, and unravel.
Yeah, he accuses him of being an idealist again. And then when Renault himself is like, the German major's been shot, and then he pauses and he's like, round up the usual suspects, and lets Rick go. Then Rick's like,
he's kind of a softie himself. But even before that, do you feel like, knowing Renault's ways and the way that it was painting this picture, this image about him as a person, were you willing to look past that and you're like, oh, well, he's helping Rick out now, so he's cool in my book? Or were you still like, nah, he's kind of a piece of shit still?
I mean, I'm glad that they went off together to do bigger things, and so he wouldn't be there, doing that to people, I suppose.
Like what'd you guys think of, because I know, Michael, you were talking about earlier, but like Rick's and Renault's relationship, like their dynamic throughout the movie.
This could be the start of a beautiful friendship. Such a great line.
Because it's almost like they weren't quite friends to begin with, but it's like they had a mutual understanding of each other. Like, you don't get in my way, I don't get your way.
It's a mutual understanding of each other. It's kind of it's a mutual, not even just understanding of, but respect for each other. The whole I don't get in your way, you don't get in my way, because they do at times get in each other's way, and it's just they respect the fact that, well, this is just part of the way the game's played. It's just it's not like the way that the major is, where he's just, it's all his way or the highway kind of thing. It's got to be this way. Whereas there's a give and a take between the two of those guys. And he, again, just telling him, hey, I'm going to bring in a blonde, I'd like it very much if she lost.
Yeah. Don't mess this up for me.
Yeah. Don't mess this up for me. Like he's not holding it against Rick. It's not like this is the last opportunity or this was the one he was totally in love with. The man is an opportunist, and he says as much. And so it's like,
he's super corrupt.
I think there's something, right? He is. And he even says that too. He says, I'm just a corrupt, I'm just a corrupt official or whatever.
Yeah.
But he says it in the joking way, but he actually was telling the truth.
But he says it because he knows that he can be so candid with Rick,
because he's going to get away with it.
Because they actually are friends. If in some strange way, they confide in each other, or at least Renault feels he can confide in him, and pays very close attention to Rick. Notices, oh, this is another precedent. Wow, a precedent is being set tonight. He's paying attention to. He's a detective. He's watching everything. There's no stone unturned here. He pays attention to these behavioral changes. But I liked them. I know that that he's skeezy for trying to just take advantage of people who are in a desperate situation. That I'm not going to deny that. But I will say, what I like about his character is he doesn't pretend to be something he's not. He says he's corrupt. Mm-hmm. He is corrupt. He says when the major asks him, are you, well, it's funny because he says what does he say to Rick? They're sitting at a table, and I had to write it down because it was confusing. I was like, what does that mean? He says to Rick something like, are you, basically, I think he tries to ask him like, are you going to help them? Like straight up just asks him, are you going to help Ilsa and Victor? And he looks at him just squarely, instead of the way they normally are, where it's like kind of beating around the bush, real subtle and like undertones, just kind of thing. He looks at him squarely and he just goes, are you pro and his whole answer to him is just, are you pro Vichy or free France? And then he goes, yes. He goes, yeah, that was foolish of me to just say that really in a heavy-handed way. And he just kind of like brushes it off. We won't talk about that again. I won't ask you. I trust you. You're not. But when he asked him that, the reason why I brought that up is because the major says something to him about his loyalty, and he says the same thing about
you trust Rick type of thing.
No, he says to him about his loyalty, about Renault's loyalty, asks him about that, and he says, well, he says I go where the wind blows, and right now the wind is blowing Vichy. And then I had my answer, because he said to him,
so he flip-flops as needed.
In a way, it was interesting because Rick still didn't, as directly as Renault came at him and said, are you going to help them?
He still deflected.
Can I trust you? He still deflected it, but he deflected it in a way that wasn't direct and said, and didn't say yes or no or what's your point? It was like he didn't come out and flatly say it. All he said was, are you pro Vichy or are you free France?
So what he did was he answered his question with a question like, well, if you're gonna throw these tough questions at me, I'm gonna throw one at you. How do you like that? And he was like, okay, fair enough. I got you.
There it is. Right. Exactly. And pro Vichy, of course, meaning like pro-Nazi essentially. And right now, and he says like, yeah, and the wind is blowing Vichy. And I was like, to the
because
major,
he's talking to the German officers.
Because he's talking to the German officer, right? So again, the point is, he even to the people that could fucking kill him, he still is being himself and is saying, hey, look, I go where the wind blows, and right now this is just who's in charge, so I go with the flow.
And you get a sense that the German officers didn't trust him. I don't even think they really liked him. They were just like using him because they're like, well, we need to track down this killer and where these transit papers went. And so this is the kind of the guy that runs the town. You know, he has the most power. So we need to work with him, and we trust him to find this guy for us. So I feel like it's just like they have to work with him out of necessity. It's not like they choose to.
No, he's not their he's not their pal. They're not happy to have to be there. It seems, you know, he greets them with so much, you know, oh yeah, he's just funny. He's a funny guy.
Yeah, he's definitely like kind of a sketchy character himself. But really quick, I wanted to mention the other thing before I forget. The other thing that kind of bugged me about this movie was the arrest of Ugarte in the club. I thought that thing was so cheesy and hilarious. Do you guys remember that scene?
Yeah,
oh, of course. Yeah, but like what particularly?
They find him at the poker table, and he's like, "Oh, well, let me just cash out my chips." He's like, "Oh yeah, I got quite a bit today," and then like he's like counting his cash, and then he just like tries to run out the door and like hold it closed. And I was just chuckling to myself when I was watching that.
It's I the way I saw it. On the one hand, yeah, I could totally see it as being cheesy, but on the other, I thought to myself, well, you're a desperate man. There's nobody on the other side of this door that's going to shoot you per se. So, you know, yeah, play along with their game. That's exactly who his character was. Like you said, he's kind of a worm. He's kind of like a little rat, weasel. Like a little weasel. There it is. He's like a little weasel. So he does what a little weasel would do. Oh, he's buying himself. Literally, he's smart. He's a weasel. He's crafty. He's buying himself time to come up with a plan. You don't really get what that plan is, but until he does it. But essentially, he's like, "Oh yeah, can I cash these chips?" And so while he's cashing his chips, he's like thinking to himself, "What could I do? What could I do to get out of this thing?" So he's like, "Okay, well here, yeah, I've got his money. Okay, I'm just folding it now," and he's just taking his time. He's just being extra, and there, meanwhile, they've been told don't cause a scene per se, like you know, just arrest him and that's it, and you know, let the man have his dignity. And then he bolts, and then he starts capping at them when he runs away, and then
he's like begging to Rick, like, you gotta hide me, even though the German officers are like literally a second behind him. You know, right. Like what the hell's Rick gonna do at this point? Yeah. He's like, sorry, you're on your own.
Yeah, that was a shit time to ask for a favor. You know?
Maybe earlier, but no, he was too busy playing poker.
And even then, it was like.
Would he have even done it? I don't even think Rick liked him. He was just I'll hold on to these papers, but I'm not gonna hold these overnight. Like, you better grab these things, you know, when you're done.
Right. That was really what it came down to. I think Peter Lorre's character, Ugarte, was trying to get a feel for how Rick felt about him. Could I actually be honest with him and tell him that I killed somebody. And he tries to allude to it. In fact, actually, Rick just straight up asks him about, oh yeah, I heard these transit papers. I heard about,
but these have nothing to do with you, right?
Two couriers, right? And he didn't ask him that. He just says, like, I heard about this. And he goes, oh yeah, I heard about them being murdered. And he looks at him and Ugarte's eyes kind of go away from him. He's like, yeah, I heard about that. That's terrible.
Shifty.
Just that kind of, and he's like, yeah, it would. And he said something like, he says, yeah, I do think something about you now, or something like that. It's like,
oh yeah, where he's I'm impressed by you.
You
now,
have impressed me, but it's like the way he says, again, it's just like the delivery is fucking ridiculous, because impressed, he's like, it's the opposite. Obviously, he's just like, so like, you're a fucking piece of shit, killing these people, these 2 German couriers. But like, whatever.
But hey,
yeah, sure, you're brave.
That ended up working tremendously in Rick's favor in the end.
It did. It was all, yeah, it did work out. But that whole exchange between the 2 of them, it just showed Ugarte, you can't ask for a favor if the time comes. You're not friends with Rick. You're not tight like that. Yeah. So I think had Rick responded a little differently, he could have been like, hey, if the shit hits the fan, could you
say no more, fam?
Yeah, say no more, say less.
I don't know if you noticed this, Michael. Another film technique that kept popping up throughout the movie. Anytime Ilsa was in frame, like by herself, it has like this soft, dreamy filter.
Yeah, she had the gauzy filter all the time.
And that's what I was trying to say. That's exactly what you just said right now, is exactly what I was trying to get across. Was as beautiful as she is, and her voice and all the great facial expressions and all that, they framed her to look so just dreamy, like really truly dreamy in black and as best they could in black and white, and it worked.
They pulled out all the stops.
Get that like fuzzy, that fuzzy thing. Yeah, it's just
that dreamlike state. And yeah, it's funny because it was painfully obvious to me, because when she was in the frame with other people, you could see her clearly, but then it's like every time it was just her by herself, I'm like, oh, there it goes again.
Right. It is painfully obvious, but it's also like, what it does is,
I feel like that was a thing they did back then, with the female characters, giving them that delicate glow and shooting them from above, making them look
elegant and
feminine,
alluring,
and delicate. And,
she even had like that, when she's kind of like stirring the pot, and she eventually peer pressure Sam into playing as time goes by, and Rick like storms over. He's like, I told you. And then they he locks eyes with Ilsa, and then she kind of has like that like doughy like look. She's just like, oh, Rick, I didn't know you were here, and like she almost has like her eyes are kind of watery because she's like so emotional from listening to the song
from him
as
playing.
well.
Yeah, exactly. No, that was brilliant. But it's kind of like, it's a device, right? It's a tactic that they use to also convey that this is the love interest, and that it's almost like it's a device that's meant to make us feel a certain way, like when we were head over heels for somebody, right? Like you do see a certain glow. It may not be how the person truly is, but you can't help but see them that way. And so it's like, in a way, it gets the audience to, in some sense, empathize with Rick and feel the same way Rick. To get where Rick is coming from, because she is so beautiful.
But you were saying, your point was that she's gorgeous even without all that, but they were still like, they almost felt like they were still using these techniques to make sure that everyone was on the same page, like everyone was on the same boat. We all are attracted to Ilsa. She is gorgeous.
Yeah. She has this timeless beauty. She's the Helen of Troy.
Essentially, sort of. Yeah, everyone's kind of like going out of their way, bending over backwards to make sure she's taken care of and she's helped.
Right. The woman that sent 1,000 men to war, or something like that. Mm-hmm. The face that sent 1,000 ships to war, I think it was. Anyway, yeah. They definitely, it's an interesting device that they used, and yeah, it definitely gives you that sense. I think when they're in scenes together, when it goes from one to the other, and I could be wrong, but I thought that they had him kind of framed that way too.
Oh, did they? Huh. Okay.
In a sort of...
I was going to make a joke, like, what if Rick was also like that? Like, he was just like all soft looking, and he was just
he's like this with he's all pursing his lips. He's all...
Yeah. I missed you. Yeah.
I missed you, baby.
with the head bob. You just
right, exactly. I missed you.
I totally missed that.
I missed you, baby.
That might have been a good thing, stuff that you missed it.
That's
Right.
my That's my sort of what is that? Johnny Depp / more like Rolling Stones. What's his name? I can't think of his name right now.
Mick Jagger. Or...
Mick Jagger. Yeah, that's my Jamie Foxx Mick Jagger impersonation. Jamie Foxx doing Mick Jagger.
You imitating Jamie Foxx.
Yes, imitating Mick Jagger.
Imitating Rick Blaine.
Imitating Rick Blaine, exactly. It's pretty meta. It goes deep.
So something I thought was an interesting direction to take with Ilsa was that they almost did kind of make her a little bit of a troublemaker, like a pot stirrer of sorts. Like she knew what the fuck she was doing. She was like, okay, I'm in this place that Rick owns. I'm just gonna try to smoke him out. Like she kept, she was asking, she was like, so where's Rick at? And Sam was doing his fucking best to try to lie and deflect or whatever, but she was like, okay, I know how to smoke him out of whatever hole he was hiding in. And so that's when she play it. She was like,
do it, dude,
twisting his arm behind his back. He's like, okay. And so
she got him in like a half Nelson. She's like, fucking do it, dude, fucking do it. You know what's good for you. She calls him boy, and that was really, I thought that's interesting. I'd heard she did. She's like, what's his boy's name or something like that, or yeah. And I was like, huh. And I'd heard that term was like derogatory. I'd never known that before.
Really?
So that's why I was like,
I was thinking maybe it's just like part of his gang, like his boys.
What's the boy? I think she said like, what's the boy playing, or what's that boy playing? And I was like, oh, I don't know if that was like it came to be, at least nowadays, it's seen as not a good term for somebody. I think it was something that now I'm going off on a whole other tangent. But yeah, I guess it was something that slave owners would say.
Yeah, it was like demeaning or whatever.
Demeaning, right.
I didn't even catch that at all, which is kind of strange.
Yeah,
so
I
feel like I picked up a lot the second time around. The second time I watched it.
Yeah. I'm not sure what term that was meant to, how that was intended. I don't think that it was meant to be racist in any sense, but like, wonder what that meant. It was interesting because she only says it that one time, and then after that I think she said Sam or his man or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, she had a rapport with Sam as well. Like, when it does the flashback to Paris, I think that's when they both met Sam for the first time, right? He was playing in a cafe up there.
Yeah.
They were in La Belle Aurora, or however it's pronounced.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I wrote that down because that was a cool shot too, where the floor was lit. The shadow on the floor of La Belle Aurora was on the floor. Yeah, the shadow was on the floor, and then the camera just kind of slowly pans up to them.
I noticed that because the words were on like a window or something, and so
they were on the window.
Sunlight shining into the door was displaying the name onto the floor. Yeah,
I thought that was cool. So cool.
It was like like a quick 2-second shot, and then it pans up, so you knew they are. Like what it was.
And that's the last time they have a drink together, and that was kind of crushing as well because. Now that I've seen the whole movie once through before, knowing that she's keeping a secret from him, knowing that you can already tell, like, he's like, what's wrong? He can kind of tell something's wrong, and she's just like, oh, nothing. And she's just looking lovingly in his eyes and just taking it all in, knowing that she's not going to see him again, or thinking at least she'll never see him again, and him having no fucking clue.
Yeah, totally believe this, because she already knew like how this was going to end, and Rick was like talking about like, yeah, we should get married, we should go here and it'll be great, and she was just like, yeah,
exactly, let's get married. And she's like, oh, married, and yeah, but
had she found out by then? Yes. And was it like that day that she found out?
I think so.
That Laszlo was alive.
Yes. Yeah, because she would not have let him on had she known he was alive. She really thought he was dead, so that's why it was so fucking doubly crushing for her. And that brings up the question that I've had that I was curious about what you guys thought. Who loves her more, Laszlo or Rick?
So I'll let you go, Steph.
I feel like it's kind of hard to say because we don't know Laszlo's whole history with her. Because I think just from watching this, I might say Rick, and I guess it, you could pull the whole argument, like, if you love her, let her go. He does that whole thing twice. Obviously he holds resentment the first time he had to let her go.
Right.
Well, she let him go.
He never let her go. Yeah, she let him go. But when he tricks her, or I don't know if he initially intended to actually go with her and then changed his mind later, but I kind of feel like, I guess that's another question. Like, did he always have that plan in mind that he was gonna trick Ilsa and then send her off with Laszlo?
So I think initially he did plan on keeping at least like one of them for himself, and then he was toying with the idea like maybe Ilsa and I could go, whatever, we can run away together. But I think even before that, he knew that one of them was going to be his, and that he was going to be getting out regardless. But then something changes, and I think it was when they kind of have that heart to heart. When she's like fucking about to cap his ass. Oh no, I think the turning point, now that I think about it, was when Laszlo narrowly escapes that like meetup, and he's like all bleeding or whatever, and the guys are kind of talking it out, and he really gets a sense for how much he cares about Ilsa, because Laszlo is talking about like, he's like, hey, I don't know what happened between you guys, but obviously she cares about you, you care about her. How about if you're not going to give me one of those transit papers, at least give one to her so that way she can get up out of here. And so I think that's when Rick was like,
has a little respect for him.
Yeah, I think he started to come around, because there was always that uneasiness between them. Like because there's that love triangle, like they both love the same woman. And I think Rick doesn't find out Laszlo's stance on like the whole situation until that moment, because from all he knows, he's just like, man, this motherfucker stole her away from me, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Off screen, we see how much he actually loves her, because he's like, I'll do anything for you. I really do love you, and I'm gonna get out of here. Laszlo's talking to Ilsa this way, like when they go back to their like hotel room or whatever, and then they sneak off to that meetup. But I felt myself struggling to root for Rick and Ilsa's relationship, because I felt like, in a lot of ways, Laszlo, he had a lot going for him. I almost felt like the odds were heavily stacked against Rick, because the story obviously wants you to root for that relationship. But I felt like Laszlo's just like the younger, more likable, more charming, more important person, like he was much more important than Rick. Rick was just kind of like this guy that like owns this club, but Laszlo is doing something, that's going to affect the course of this war, and he's like fighting for this important cause. It just made more sense for Ilsa to be with Laszlo, because she's actually married to this guy. She knew him before she knew Rick. And that was just, she was only with Rick because like, she was sad about losing her husband, or so she thought, and she was lonely and she was scared. And so that kind of, Rick in this case was the one that was intruding on their relationship. And I just felt like Rick isn't really like a likable guy himself. He's rude and standoffish and really unenthusiastic about a lot of things. He doesn't really stand for much of anything. He just kind of like agrees with everyone, so that way people leave him alone, so that way he doesn't have to really like come to any conflicts. And whereas like Laszlo is willing to die for his beliefs, and he stands up for what he believes in. And even like when the Germans were singing that song in the club, and then Laszlo is brand new to Casablanca, and he's able to round up these people and back up himself in singing this the French national anthem, right? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but that's only because Rick gave them the nod. They look over at him because he walks over to them, and he's gonna ask them for it, or at least he does ask. They look over to Rick, and Rick just gives them a nod. He doesn't even know what he asked, but he just says like, "Do it, whatever it is. Like, go ahead and do it."
Yeah, but I do feel like everybody knows who Laszlo is. He seems to be a pretty famous, resistance.
He's a popular guy, yeah.
And even Rick would say that too. He's like, yeah. He says, I think Laszlo says, "Oh, you're pretty well known in these parts," and he's like, "Well, you're known." Rick says to him, you're known throughout the world.
Yeah, exactly.
For what you do.
Yeah, and then also, and I think that Rick sees that it's not just Laszlo, it's also Ilsa that's part of their team, and she could do a lot more. She could do a lot more good, by Laszlo's side than just running away with Rick. And then Rick at some point decides to go off and do some good himself. But, as he says it towards the end of the movie, he says, "Where I'm going, you can't follow."
Yeah, it's
Well,
like
right.
it almost seems like everything just makes more sense for Ilsa to be with Laszlo,
Yeah.
and it was there's so many things stuck against her and Rick. Like it would have been worse if they got together. Like it would have been worse for both of them to be together because they would have both suffered together, and then nothing would have been accomplished.
Well, he said it. He said, you'll regret it. Maybe
Maybe
not
not now
soon. Yeah, maybe not now, maybe not soon, but yeah, eventually you'll regret it. And
for the rest of your
I
life.
think he was right, and I think she knew that he was right.
Who knows? Like it seemed like it was such a short-lived relationship. It could have just been lust.
Yeah, it was like summer
Was it
fling.
true love? I don't know.
Yeah, they really didn't know each other that well. That was that was also what was established too. Was they didn't no questions about their pasts. I remember them talking about
Yeah.
that, and so that's why when she asks him of Frank for his thoughts, and that was such a touching scene for me.
He's like, where I come from, it's a penny, but I guess that tells you how much our thoughts are worth in America.
Yeah, he says, "Oh, that's what my thoughts are worth," or something like that. And she goes, "Well, I'm willing to overpay." And I thought that was such a sweet thing for her to say too. I was just like,
she wants to know more
Yeah.
about him.
so playful, right?
Yeah.
She wants to know more about him. It's true. But so I asked if who loved her more, and so I still think that, I mean, to me, it's hard to say because you really don't know their past, but you know what she says about Laszlo, and way she explained their love to Rick was he was this charismatic person that was older, that Laszlo was, that
I would argue that Humphrey Bogart was older. He looks hella old.
Right. He was much older, but Laszlo was still older than her when she was coming up, and so he was basically her first love, and so she fell in love with his charisma and his desire to help other people. But does that necessarily mean she should be with somebody who's like that? Because on the flip side, my perspective on that, watching their interactions and everything, was he's more concerned with freeing people, the cause, than he is with her feelings, because he's not even paying attention to how distraught she is when they're there at the club. He's noticing things, but he's actually not even bringing it up with her, not asking her how she feels, and noticing asking her about that with concern. He's just kind of like, whatever, I'm trying to get us out of here and on to the next thing, and the next thing, all these other objectives. Whereas Rick's concern is her. As soon as she comes back into his life, it's her, always her. And then he tells her the very thing he tells her to get her to leave with him. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday you'll regret this. He does it out of his love for her.
Do you think there's any, obviously what he did at the end of the movie, it was heroic, and that you're like, man, that's a hell of a move, let's applaud Rick for that courageous kind of switcheroo swerve that he did at the end, because he didn't know how things were going to turn out for him, but he was willing to sacrifice that, so that way she could leave and be free.
Right. And I guess, again, it just comes down to that question, like, okay, you guys mentioned before something that was interesting, how she could do more good being with Laszlo, and if nothing else, just him having her by his side would probably would be a great boon for his strength, for his courage, because then he knows he has the love of this great woman with him. But I'm wondering, like, well, isn't he just using her then too? Is that not using a person? And will her life have been spent well that way?
I think like at first it seemed like all he really cared about was like, sure, it was nice having her around. She's easy to look at, right? Easy on the eyes. But I felt like that was almost like surface level. And then as we got to know more about Laszlo, then we learned that, he, in those intimate moments, those candid moments, he does tell her, like, he takes a moment, like, obviously he has some important business to do, but he's like, hey, I want to let you know, like, I love you so much, and like, I want you by my side when we leave for Lisbon.
Yeah, I don't think that she's being used or anything like that. I think she knows what she signed up for. She's been in this since before he was put in the concentration camp and before she thought he was dead. And then she goes right back into it as soon as she finds out he's alive and everything. Sure, she was in love with him, is in love with him or whatever. But I think she's all in on it too. I think it's one of those situations where, she's a lot more integral to the cause than people would realize. But of course, she can't be like the face of it because she's a woman in those times, kind of thing. But I feel like it's one of those situations where Laszlo would probably say that or feel that he's probably not, he couldn't be where he was without her, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, and I would even say I could see a scenario where maybe Laszlo was boring or something, wasn't as exciting, and so that's why she liked the danger of being with this other man. But I'm like, honestly, you can't get more dangerous and exciting than what Laszlo's doing. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're risking their lives every day. They're on the run, literally, you know, for their lives. And
right. And Rick's just kind of like hold up, and he's like, hey, I just want like a simple life or whatever. And he almost has like that
vacation.
He almost kind of has like that puppy dog kind of love where he follows you around, you know, and he's like, I'm not gonna let you go. I'm not gonna let you out of my sight. And I could see where that could kind of wear off, you know, like the love could wear off not long after. Yeah. Like once the you know, like the honeymoon phase, I guess, wears off.
Right, because they never really got to have more time together to see more than, well, to get to know each other. They're just so curious about one another. And I noticed when he goes up there and he's leading the whole bar in singing the French national anthem, or that French national song, whatever it is. You know, you see in her eyes that doughy look, right? The doughy eyes, and she just seems to basically be falling back in love with him again.
I noticed that too. Yeah, I was like, oh damn, okay. So, and that also shows like her dynamic with him. But one thing I will say is that the director made sure that they didn't have any kissing scenes, her and Laszlo, because I think they would still wanted you. They were saving that moment for her and Rick. So they wanted you. Yeah. They don't want her to like bouncing back and forth, like making out with both of them. She saved that kiss, that like one kiss for Rick, and that was like the passionate, like hot scene. You're like, oh damn, okay, all right.
Well, they kissed in the flashback too.
The kiss in the flashback, she spills the glass.
Yeah.
Which is almost like an omen.
That over the top kissing where they're like almost like massaging each other's backs while they're kissing.
Right. That was a back then thing too.
Yeah.
I did want to mention the hilarious market scene where the merchant was upselling the cloth to Ilsa.
Yeah, friends of Rick. Oh, for friends. He started off with 700 francs.
700 francs, and then as soon as Rick shows up and starts talking to her, he's like, "Oh, you're friend of Rick. Well, now you get the friend discount, which is 200 francs." And he has like the sign, right?
Yeah, he drops it down like so far. I'm like, damn, yeah.
And then he's like, well, since I see that you're a close friend, we have like the close Rick friend discount, which is like 100 francs. Really trying to sell her on that cloth.
Right. 100. Right.
That cracked me up. I was like, man, these guys they have no shame at all.
Right. Well, I mean, they're there to make a deal. I you know, it's funny to live in a country where there's a set price for everything. Because we take that for granted, you know, and we count sales tax, all that shit. It's just that's what it is, and that's all it's going to be. Whereas, you know, you go to another country, you go out there, and everything's bartering. It's expected for you to barter. You know, if you take it at the listed price, you're a fool. You'll overpay for something. So it's like, you know, there's this whole dance that exists between the vendor and the potential buyer, where it's like, no, oh, it's 700. No, I'm not paying anything more than 100. Like, whoa. Okay, I'm willing to go down to 500. You're like, 500. Yeah. That's still too rich for my blood. I could pay maybe like 200. Like, make it 250 and we'll have a deal. Like, all right, you got yourself a god dang deal. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like part of the fun of the whole thing where we barter. There's no real set price on it. So yeah, that's interesting to see just that dynamic play out where, he's just desperate to get rid of that. And that's like that was a pretty big, I don't even know what the hell that was, like a tablecloth or something.
Yeah, she made it known. She was like, I'm not trying to buy anything, and I'm just kind of browsing and window shopping. And he's like, yeah, 700 francs.
But everybody has a price. That's the other thing too. So he's just thinking, she's looking at it. She's literally, even if she's wasting time, she's looking at this thing.
True.
So yeah. I have her. I got her. I got one on the hook. You know.
She was basically just killing time while Laszlo was talking to Ferrari.
Right. Yeah, so that was pretty funny.
I just wanted to, before we wrap up on everything, I definitely want to discuss just like the many pieces that were at play towards the end of the movie. So this is like right after I think Rick kind of internally decides that he's probably going to just give the two letters of transit to Laszlo and Ilsa. And then right after that, Renault, that motherfucker, he's just like, gotcha. And then he arrests him for like, I guess like having the papers, and he was going to convict him of killing those German couriers, right? For the papers.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when Rick kind of hits that swerve on him. And then he has that gun, which another old movie trope is like the aiming the gun from the hip, because she does it to him too, right?
Holding your elbow down, yeah.
Yeah, like Ilsa does it to him. Like he turns around and it's like, done. And then like it pans down and like you got that like little pistol by your hip. And I always thought that was just so funny. Like, why'd they always aim like that? Like,
gotcha, sucker.
No idea. That's a good question.
And that's like something that they, I guess that was just what people did in all the movies. So it's like, well, I mean, since everyone else is doing it, I guess we might as well keep doing it too.
Maybe it's just a fad, like, holding the gun sideways or something.
Maybe, yeah. And it's not even until I think more recently where these actors have been taking like actual gun training for like any role where they handle a gun. Because before I felt like you kind of do like the whole like hand on the bottom where the clip is, right? But like if anyone that has actual gun training, that you put your fingers over your grip, and then like you make sure your thumbs are not in the way of the slide,
Right. Yeah, you get a good purchase on the handle. And you you got to move.
You can control the gun better that way. Like when you put your fingers over the hand that's grabbing the actual grip.
It's almost like the barrel just comes out of your hands. It's kind of an interesting way. You really have control over this thing. But yeah, that's interesting. Shooting from the hip like that, and you'd see gangster movies where the guy would have a gun in his coat pocket, in his suit pocket, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna plug you if you don't give me that money." See?
Old timey.
Yeah.
Listen here, see.
Listen here, I'll give you a plug. I'll plug you full of lead.
And I guess that was another fact too, is everyone talked like that.
Well, yeah, that's the transatlantic accent. There was actually people were trained to do that. So Humphrey Bogart does it.
Oh, really?
But Sam doesn't. Yeah, you listen to Humphrey Bogart. The way he talks. Humphrey
and
Bogart.
all the ladies in those classic movies talk the same way too. And there's a show, I think it was like a Amazon Prime show or a Netflix show or something. I want to say a few years ago, called Hollywood, I think, and it has some. It was kind of like a what if things were different, and what if like they had allowed a black actress to be a lead, and how might that have changed race issues in Hollywood back then, kind of thing. And so it has people playing some famous actors from the time. It's one of those alternative history kind of situations. So, black actress ends up getting the lead role. She ends up winning awards, and it kind of changes Hollywood in that alternative universe or whatever. But at one point, they actually show all the ladies all the actresses in the class, teaching them how to have that accent that all the Hollywood ladies, leading ladies,
because
have.
That was the thing
movies,
to do. Yeah.
Transatlantic, yeah.
I think another trope which I feel like just wouldn't fly in today's movies was the fact that it's like, yeah, call the airport and call your dogs off or whatever. He's like, okay, I'll call him. And then he like calls the German officer guy instead. And he's like, oh yeah, you guys.
Hello, airport.
Yeah, hello airport. Is this the airport that I'm speaking with? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this Mr. Airport?
Is this Mr. Airport? Am I speaking? Excellent.
I thought it was pretty slick of him because, he plays off pretty well. It was like super naive of Rick to actually assume that he was going to call the airport.
Right.
And not like call for backup or anything. But, I actually thought like tipping off the general, or not the general. Was he just like a lieutenant, or he was a major?
He was a major.
And
major
tipping him off, I almost felt like he should have been at the airport sooner, because he leaves immediately. But, who knows where he's at? He could have been like all the way across town or something, because obviously the airport was like super close, where the cafe was stationed right at the end of the runway. You could see the planes flying overhead.
Right.
Which is kind of a shitty location to be in.
Seriously loud and whatever.
But and so he shows up fucking late, and by that point I almost felt like it was kind of strange how they see the plane taken off. The German officer isn't even trying to stop it himself. Like, he's not like, guys, get in the car and like shoot that plane or anything. Yeah, they're like, well, Renault, you stopped the airplane. He's like, well, sorry, it's out of my hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was it Rick that kills that German guy eventually?
Yes.
Yeah, because he has that like
he's picking up the phone and he's about to make the phone call or whatever,
to call for
and then
backup or whatever.
Yeah, Rick kills him.
Well, they shoot each other, right?
And no, he just.
I thought they shot at the same time.
Strasser.
He plugs him.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
he plugs him.
The medical term is plugged him.
Yeah, he plugged him. Yeah, it's medical strictly.
I'm pretty sure that Rick was the only one that did any plugging at that point.
Well, if the German guy did shoot, I mean, he was like way off. I don't know if maybe because he was getting shot, like maybe his aim went astray or something. But I was like, man, that's a terrible shot.
Yeah, so he dies, and then everybody else shows up.
Oh yeah, the rest of his crew shows up, and then that's when Renault actually stands up for Rick and helps him out.
And he could have been like, apprehend him or whatever, but instead they look at each other and they come to
that goes with
a
what
mental
we're saying.
Understanding.
Yeah, because we know that Renault he's an opportunist, right? Like how you guys are saying. So I think he saw an opportunity here. He was just like, hey, we're both smart guys. We both know how to play the game, and I bet if we relocate someplace else, we can build ourselves a little empire or whatever. We can do this whole.
Well, they plan to go off and he mentioned they plan to go off for I can't remember what the group is called, but it's like Free France something, and they plan to go off and join a resistance group themselves.
Yeah, I mean we'll see, because I still don't trust that sketchy Renault, but
and that's at least where that whole this is the start of a beautiful friendship line
exactly.
comes in.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
How beautiful is this friendship? I don't know, but I feel like if Rick's a smart guy, I don't think he would trust Renault as far as he can throw him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good twist. It was
that was a nice little little swerve, and one final swerve at the end of the movie that I don't think a lot of people were expecting.
Yeah.
And it was never actually revealed why Rick couldn't return to America. That was like the final note that I took, because I'm like, why can't he go back? He never says.
It's cool. Yeah, it's cool. That was another thing that I appreciated about the movie, was that it gave you enough information to want more information. It never like explained everything, and that would have, I mean, with only so much time, and I think it's an hour and 42, hour and 46,
right? Yeah, around there.
Runtime. It's like, do you really want to waste valuable time explaining certain things that may or may not make sense and may not add up all the way, or do you want to just get to the story part, get to the love scenes, and and just trust us and still want to know more, kind of like Christopher Nolan in some of his films, leaving you with more questions.
I do like the fact that he doesn't over-explain, but I do feel like sometimes he kind of introduces a few too many elements where you're just like, okay, this is getting a little much.
That's my only other concern with it, is I'm just like, okay, do I really I mean, I love Memento, but that's a tough one. I'm like, does it all add up though? Does it all add up? There's too many parts.
Does it mean anything,
Does it mean anything? Question. Who is Sammy Jenkins? Okay.
At the end of the day, once you finish the movie, I still don't know what the hell's happening.
Yeah. That's different. Whereas Casablanca.
Have you ever watched it in chronological order to see if it all adds up?
I haven't actually, but I know there's a cut that way.
I have not.
I
heard that there's a cut that way.
Right. I'd heard that too. In fact, I heard that there was a specific DVD director's cut or whatever, and it was like, oh my gosh, I was like, Dad, you got it? I was like, all right, I'm gonna look it up online. And we're like looking up the way, like we thought there was some sort of thing in the menu, kind of like, you would
press
play
up at like 2 minutes 30 seconds or whatever,
right, doing all this shit. None of it happened. Some fools were trolling us on the fucking internet.
You and your dad were doing this?
Great.
Me and my brother, we did.
Your brother, okay.
My dad's at work and he left it with us. He's like, oh yeah, if we could watch it going forward, that'd be really cool. I'd love to see that. And I'm like, okay. So Paul and I, that was our little mission for the day.
That is a wrap, folks. Thanks for joining us on our 1 year anniversary episode. It still sounds weird to say that, honestly.
Yeah,
like I can't believe it's been 1 year.
We've been doing this for a year. How awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. But you know what? We're still going strong. And best believe we have plenty more episodes coming your way.
Yeah, we do.
And keep this hush-hush. But if you made it to the end of this episode, then check under your seat. There's a letter of transit hidden for you. Use it wisely.
Use it wisely.
Any final thoughts or closing comments?
Yeah, it's definitely, I guess it's a classic for a reason, right? Cinematography wise, story wise, I enjoy it, and I'm sure I will enjoy it again.
Listen, Casablanca is not my favorite movie and is actually far from it, but I get that this was a trailblazer, a masterpiece in writing, filming, acting, directing, all the elements that go into making a movie. And I respect it for what it did for the film industry. But coming from someone that took a liking to movies without any formal education about the industry or anything like that, without that knowledge of how expertly made this film was, I still enjoyed it. And, you know, I thought it was great to see the acting, the directing, and the filming styles of that time. And Casablanca is often stated as being one of the best movies ever made, if not the best motion picture of all time. And I think there's something to say about that. You know, even regular people like me are still able to enjoy this movie today. And this movie, it has something about it. Like, it's timeless. It aged pretty damn well. And the thing is, it'll continue to be on people's minds decades down the line. The fact that it's able to do that, whatever this X factor is about Casablanca, is that this is why it's going to always be towards the top of these lists, is because it's a timeless movie. And, you know, it does a lot of these things better than modern movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I agree there. It's still I don't know about hard to watch. It's intriguing. I learn something new every time I've watched it now, and that love story just gets me. It gives my heart a little squeeze. I'm like, ooh, ouch.
And then you think they're gonna get back together, and then they don't.
And you're like, fucking A, it didn't happen again. It didn't happen again.
I know.
Anyway.
Damn it, Rick.
Just a reminder, we are available on all major podcast streaming services, with new episodes dropping on the first Saturday of each month, 5 a.m. Pacific. A special thanks to the listeners out there for joining Steph, Michael, and I. I love watching movies, digging further into the background of the movies and discussing with you guys. So I just, you know, I really enjoy doing this with you guys. And it's a pleasure that we pumped out 14 episodes, and, you know, we still got plenty more to go.
Yeah.
You know, we're
That's
really
awesome.
Privileged to be able to do something that we enjoy, and it's a great pleasure to use this platform to entertain all the listeners out there as well. This has been Aflixionados Podcast, episode 14, Casablanca, and we will see you all next time.